I grew up in a household that placed culture at the forefront of everything we did. Both my parents are very culturally curious. You know, they surrounded us and they surrounded themselves with so many different things. They thought it would be good for their kids to learn music, so they sent my sister and I to music classes. I think there was a key moment where I felt like I was overwhelmed by some kind of emotions that I was not able to describe. I was 10, I think, when I had an orchestra rehearsal. I was playing with the Syrian youth orchestra. And there's a section that I was not able to play, and the conductor at the time gave me a hard time. And I came home, and I was telling my parents I was crying because it didn't work out. And then I started to play that thing over and over and over, until I was fundamentally moved by it. I was crying because I was angry. At the end of that 2 hours of me trying things out, I was crying because I was moved.
So I grew up in a very poor household. My parents and my family, they did not care about culture at all. Whenever I drew, that process made me feel incredibly safe and happy. So I think bit by bit, I started to understand that it gave me lots of courage and self-esteem. When I migrated to the United States in '98, I said, you know, I'm going to continue this art form. It's kind of a destiny, like it meant to be that I was in the right place and the right time. Someone said, you have to meet this guy. He's Syrian and he's a musician, and his name is Kinan Azmeh. You have to meet him. So I met Kinan. I was very impressed in a way that he paid so much attention to what I'm thinking, what I'm offering. He called me. He said, you know, I have my graduation thesis at Juilliard. Please come. When I went there with nothing in mind, I just want to go and learn about Kinan's work. And his work was inspired by American invasion in Iraq. I was moved very much, saying that this is something very important for now, and I would love to be part of it.
There are two main philosophies when it comes to art and your surrounding. One of them suggests that you do art to recreate the world in a most ideal way according to you, the artist or the art maker. Other people suggest that, you know, you do art to reflect on the world around you. My personal thought has always been that I wanted to do music and to practice art because it allowed me to experience emotions that are not accessible in real life. You go to some kind of fantasy land. And when the Syrian uprising and the war that followed, when that happened, especially in the first year, I felt emotions that I never felt before. So the need for art disappeared. But then it took me a while to realize that if people went to the streets to demonstrate and express, you know, opinions, I'm one of the few people in this world who do have the option of free self-expression, you know? So might as well hold on to that and just practice it as loud, you know, as possible. So I wrote this little piece called A Sad Morning Every Morning, which was a little solo clarinet thing with electronics. And I immediately thought of sending it to Kevork. And I did, and then he created a video for it. And that led naturally to this work called Home Within, which is a whole project based and inspired by what was going on at different stages, starting in 2011. And it was a project that aimed at documenting how we felt at different times. It's not a project that tries to summarize the story. I always say that. Because if you want to know the Syrian story, you have to listen to 22 or 24 million Syrians telling their stories. It's simply about documenting how we felt at different times. And also now, looking at this project, almost more than 10 years after it was created, we realize how universal this project is.
And we've done it more than 60, 70 times and traveled so many different places, including many refugee camps.
Kevork and I are not only collaborators, but we have been brothers since I moved to New York, really. And to be able to relate, not only from a Syrian to Syrian, like you mentioned, this has nothing to do, from a human to human perspective, on how do we deal with the world using the tools we have. And we happen to have two tools that are very contrasting, at least seemingly contrasting. But what's in common is that I think shapes when I write music, and I know Kevork thinks of time when he's painting. And I think that's where we were able to meet, And we have done a number of jam sessions. You don't imagine a visual artist in a jam session. But we have done so many of those.
And my point of view of seeing things, what was happening in Syria, and from his point of view of seeing what was happening in Syria, was very different. I come from an Armenian family, and I hear things from my Armenian friends and all this, and he hears things from Syrian friends. So for me to combine these two is so crucial to show a bigger image of Syria. And we never ever said that your point of view is wrong or my point of view is wrong. On the contrary, we put it together in a way that it kind of, almost like a puzzle pieces, it created the missing blocks. Because the imagery that I create in this performance is kind of influenced by both cultures.
There's a part towards the end of the piece called "And We Are All Optimistic." And the title always for me sounded almost like ironic or sarcastic, How can you be optimistic within all of this very dark reality around you? And during this piece, on the screen, you see the sound of the clarinet comes into buildings that are being built as I play.
But it's coming out of his clarinet.
It's coming out of my instrument. And every time we performed this, and we performed it 60 or 70 times, every time we did this, I believed it. And I'm moved fundamentally by it, because I feel no matter how obscure and irrelevant a clarinet sound can be, maybe this helps build a little tiny block, just one stone in a much bigger thing. Not only in a brighter Syria, but in a brighter world too.
It's also about keeping those memories alive through our art practice and sharing with the world a place where no longer exists. I think Syria is not the same 10, 20 years ago, but we're putting also hope in it that there is a place and effort that we could rebuild that, make it even better than before. That's the way when I'm creating my work, I'm trying to put that hope in it and to reflect to other places, hopefully art can contribute and create a better tomorrow.
There are so many things, what we're talking about, whether it's displacement, mass punishment, atrocities on the highest level. It's sad to realize that it's not only, for the Syrians, and the world has witnessed this throughout history. And I think it puts our work into perspective of people who witnessed something and documented it a little bit. Even if it was as personal as just us trying to document how we felt about it. But I'm always hopeful that when people see this performance, it's not about, oh, let me sit in a passive way and see and evaluate just the art. I want them to do that too. But for me, the most important is when people feel motivated to do something about the reason why this art was created. I want both. I want people to know to enjoy it what it is. It's an abstract piece of art, but also to question the reason and try to solve and find a solution for the reasons why this happened in the first place. It's all about why do we do art, and why do we go to art also as audiences? And I think the question is all of the above. Some of us want to relate to the world around us. Some of us want to go to what's fantastic and what's beyond, and some of us simply enjoy the freedom that art making and practicing celebrates.
When we think about the history and what we have from the past, it's all done through art. Writing, music, plays, visual art. And I think all great art, they capture their time. So I think when you see the artist capturing their time, it's probably the most important way to move forward.
Self-expression is healing. Listening to somebody self-express is healing. Seeing somebody celebrate something that is not, doesn't create a tangible product is healing. Because I think that's the essence of humanity. I mean, art is about that. Art is maybe the most important thing that humanity created. So it's not only about healing, for me, it's the most fundamental aspect of being a human, is this creation of art. Is it healing? I mean, if it's healing for us to practice our humanity, then let it be, you know? But also from the scientific perspective, it's proven, you know, over and over again that if you are exposed to art, you live your life differently.